another day draws to a close. Do you feel as though, throughout this entire day, we have had to clothe ourselves in armor? The armor of responsibility, of expectations, of the effort to appear fine, even when a storm is raging within. And now, as the door to the outside world has closed, the weight of that armor seems to still press deeply upon your shoulders. But I want you to know that this space, right at this moment, is where you are allowed to lay it all aside. Tonight, we shall fight no more. Together, we will listen to a story, not with our ears, but with our souls. A gentle whisper of true peace, a peace that does not depend on external circumstances, but flows from a deep source within. Therefore, I invite you to let your body find softness upon your bed, and more importantly, grant your mind permission to rest. When you are ready, slowly close your eyes. We will begin with a breath. As an act of removing the first layer of armor, inhale deeply a sense of safety, and exhale slowly, releasing all the burdens of the long day. You are home now. Rest. Greetings, traveler seeking a place of rest. Darkness has fallen outside your window, and perhaps a little darkness is also creeping into your mind at this moment. You turn off the lights, yet your thoughts remain ablaze. You want to sleep, but anxiety about tomorrow, about what remains unfinished, about the feeling of being lost amidst the hustle and bustle of life, is still whispering in your ear. I understand. It is the disease of our time. We live in cities brilliant with neon lights, yet we have lost the light of inner peace. Kahlil Gibran, the artist of the soul, once looked deep into the night and realized that darkness is not the enemy, but a velvet curtain for the soul to rise. He wrote in The Prophet, "In the depth of your hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring." Tonight, let your mind be that seed lying still beneath the white snow. Do not try to sprout right at this moment. Just lie still, accept the silence, for it is in that ultimate silence that healing begins. And that healing starts with a sound, a vibration, a light from ancient times. Take a deep breath and exhale very slowly. Imagine we are turning back time, drifting to the moment before the universe was formed, before there were car horns, phone notifications, or the noise of contention. There only sacred silence exists. And the Gospel, according to St. John, opened that door with the greatest poetic words in human history. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word. It is not a soulless word on a page. It is the idea, the reason, the breath of life. Imagine the Word as the gentle background music of the universe, a vibrational frequency carrying the energy of pure love. When you are weary from the thousands of hurtful words of the world today, return to take refuge in this primordial word. The word does not judge you, does not demand deadlines, does not require you to be successful. The word simply exists to uphold your existence. But life is not always serene. We often feel abandoned, feel that this world is strange and cold. Have you ever felt that you do so much good, but no one recognizes it? You give love, but receive indifference. The Gospel of John understands that pain of yours with a verse full of existentialism and tragedy. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him. a great loneliness. If even the Creator, when entering the world He created, was ignored and unrecognized, then your loneliness tonight is also understood. You're not alone in that loneliness. Jesus, through the pen of John, appears not as a distant king, but as a friend deeply empathetic to the modern human feeling of being forgotten. Mo, as you lie here tossing and turning because you feel no one understands you, remember that the light still shines, regardless of whether the darkness accepts it or not. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. This is the mantra for your sleep tonight. The darkness has not overcome it. The darkness of anxiety, of insomnia, of financial or emotional pressures. They may envelop you, but they cannot conquer the light within your soul. This light does not need to be as glaring as the noon sun that blinds your eyes. It is a small fire in the hearth, warm, steadfast, and safe. Visualize the light of the Word gently entering your bedroom. It does not chase away the darkness violently. It blends into the darkness, soothing the sharp edges of fear. Gibran once spoke of offering pain to be healed, and this light is here to take that burden. You do not need to try to sleep. You only need to believe in the light. Like a child who does not need to understand the principles of electricity to turn on a lamp, you do not need to understand all the high theology to receive this peace. Just know that a great source of life is right beside you, whispering, "I am here. I am the beginning, and also your rest." Let the concept of the Word, the order, the wisdom, and the love rearrange the cluttered thoughts in your head. Let those thoughts drift away like leaves on a river of light. The Word became flesh, walked on this dusty earth, so that tonight He might step into your dreams, wiping away the sweat of worry. His presence is the affirmation that you are loved, known, and protected. The world may not recognize your value, but the one who created light knows every beat of your heart. And in that knowing, He grants you peace. Now, as your mind has begun to accustom itself to the gentle presence of this eternal light, as your breathing has become more even and your eyelids heavy with relaxation, we will see that the light does not just stay in one place. The light loves to enter the most ordinary places, places of joy and sharing, to turn the mundane into a miracle of delight. Let me lead you away from this vast universe, to step gently toward a small village where there is laughter, the sound of cups clinking, and a first miracle waiting to soothe the thirst of your soul. Let your mind drift gently like a leaf falling onto a stream, taking us to the peaceful countryside of Cana. Can you hear it? The music from harps, the buzzing laughter, and the rhythmic tapping of dancing feet. It is a wedding, the most brilliant symbol of human joy. But I want you to pay attention to a small detail, a detail very similar to our lives these days. While the music still plays, backstage, anxiety begins to creep in. The wine has run out. Wine here is not just a drink. In the deep spiritual view, wine is the symbol of the joy of life, of energy, of passion, and enthusiasm. Do you feel the same way? You are still attending this life, still going to work, still smiling at colleagues, still taking care of family. But inside, your wine has run dry. You feel empty. The enthusiasm has evaporated, leaving behind weariness and blandness. You fear that everyone will discover this depletion. You fear the humiliation of no longer having enough strength to satisfy the world's expectations. Kahlil Gibran, with a heart of infinite sensitivity, once wrote about giving and emptiness. He understood that humans often drain themselves to please others, but in that crisis of shortage, a silent presence enters. Look, Mother Mary whispers to Jesus a short sentence encapsulating a whole human sentiment. They have no wine. Just simply that. Tonight, if you feel you have no strength left, do not try to pray with flowery words. Just whisper to the Creator as the most honest confession. Lord, I have run out of wine. I am exhausted. The confession of weakness is the beginning of new strength, and the miracle begins to unfold, not with thunder or loud explosions, but with quiet obedience. There were 6 stone jars there, originally used for water for ceremonial washing. Cold purification rituals, the Lord said to fill them with water. Plain water, colorless, odorless, tasteless water, like the boring, repetitive days you are experiencing. But when faith touches that blandness, transformation occurs. The plain water, when passing through the hands of the healer, turned crimson, more intense, more fragrant. It became fine wine. This is a profound therapeutic lesson for your sleep. The ordinary anxieties, the nameless little things you do every day when offered up in trust, can all turn into joy. You do not need to look for a miracle far away. The miracle lies right in the stone jars of daily life. The master of the banquet tasted it and exclaimed in amazement, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." You have saved the best till now. Let this sentence echo in your subconscious like a lullaby. Perhaps you think the best days have passed, that youth, health, or the best opportunities have drifted away, that now only fading remains. No, the story at Cana tells you the opposite. God always keeps the best things for the final moments. When you think everything has ended, that is when He begins. When you think you are depleted, that is when He pours out freshness. Kahlil Gibran, in The Prophet, when speaking of work, wrote, "Work is love made visible. When water, toilsome work, is touched by God's love, it turns into wine, jubilant joy." Tonight, let go of the shame about your shortcomings. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be always full. Your depletion is the space for grace to be filled. Imagine your soul is that stone jar. Do not worry if it is full of tears or blandness. Open your heart. The one who turns water into wine is here. He will turn anxiety into peace, insomnia into golden sleep, tension into sweet relaxation. Feel the warmth spreading from your chest, like the sensation of sipping a glass of fine wine by a cozy fireplace. The yeast of comfort is gradually seeping into every cell, softening the muscles that are tense, soothing the nerves that are trembling. You are safe. You are fully provided for, and the best is still waiting for you ahead, right in this sleep. As the feast at Cana slowly fades, the candlelights dim, and the drunken guests sink into sleep elsewhere, under the starry sky of Jerusalem, another story is beginning. From the noise of the crowd, we will step together into the absolute silence of the night, where a learned scholar is walking to find answers for his soul. Let the cool night breeze lead us to that secret meeting. Now imagine you are walking on the winding cobblestone streets of Jerusalem. Darkness has fallen thickly, torches on the city walls burn fitfully, creating dancing shadows. The night wind blows, carrying a chill that is biting yet sobering. In that darkness, there is a man hurrying along. His name is Nicodemus. He is a successful man, a profound intellectual, a respected leader. He possesses everything the world defines as success: status, knowledge, and respect. But he cannot sleep. There is a vast void in his soul that books and laws cannot fill. He seeks out Jesus at night. Why at night? Perhaps because he fears others seeing his weakness. Or perhaps, just like you and me, only when night falls do we dare to truly face the great questions of our lives. Do you see yourself in the image of Nicodemus? By day, you put on the cloak of strength, of I am fine. You use reason to solve every problem. You analyze, you calculate, you plan. But when night comes, when that cloak is removed, you face unsteadiness. Your sharp reason, the very thing that helps you succeed at work, now becomes the enemy of sleep. It keeps spinning, analyzing, and refuses to switch off. Kahlil Gibran, in his masterpiece, The Prophet, spoke of the conflict between reason and soul like this: your reason and your passion are the rudder and the sails of your seafaring soul. If either your sails or your rudder be broken, you can but toss and drift, or else be held at a standstill in mid-seas. Nicodemus is standing still in the midst of that open sea. His reason, the rudder, is too large, but he lacks the spiritual wind to push the boat forward. He comes to the Lord and begins with logical, sharp words. But Jesus does not answer with logic. He answers with a paradox, an invitation to step into the depths of mystery. Very truly, I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again. Born again. Nicodemus, with his practical mind, was shocked. How can someone be born when they are old? He's thinking about the physical body, about physical laws. But the Lord is speaking of the soul. Tonight, this concept of born again is the therapeutic medicine for you. To enter a good sleep, you must die to today. You need to let go of the old, tired, worry-filled person of today. Do not carry the burdens of yesterday into tomorrow. Let tonight's sleep be a cocoon where you shed the rough shell of pressure, to wake up tomorrow morning as a new being. You do not need to understand how it happens. You only need to accept it. Listen to the sound of the wind outside the window, or the sound from the fan in your room. Jesus uses the image of the wind to liberate Nicodemus's mind, and to liberate you as well. The wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. So it is with everyone born of the Spirit. The wind blows wherever it pleases. This is the key of surrender. You cannot make the wind stop blowing, just as you cannot force sleep to come by will. You cannot grasp the wind. You can only feel it. Your anxiety comes from wanting to control everything, controlling the future, controlling others' thoughts, controlling work results. But the Lord says, be like the wind. Let the Spirit operate freely. Let go of the rudder. Inhale. Imagine you are breathing in the fresh wind of rebirth. Exhale. Imagine you are blowing away the rigid structures of reason, the questions of why, how, when, that are causing you headaches. Gibran once wrote about the freedom of the soul. And forget not that the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair. Let your soul walk barefoot tonight. Let the wind play with your thoughts, gently messing them up and then blowing them far away. You do not need to be a responsible adult in this sleep. Return to being a child, innocent and trusting. That night encounter ended not with Nicodemus understanding everything, but with his eyes being opened to a great love. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. Love is the final answer to all the questions of reason. When reason is weary and helpless, love will catch you. You are loved not because you are smart, not because you know much, but simply because you are his creation. Let that reassurance lull you. There is nothing left to argue. There is nothing left to prove. Only the peace of one who knows they are sheltered by the one who holds the entire universe in the palm of his hand remains. And so, as Nicodemus departed, carrying a seed of new hope in his heart, the night gradually faded. The stars sank down. The sun began to rise, scorching the earth. We will leave the chill of Jerusalem to head north, crossing the hot sand dunes of Samaria. There, amidst the glaring heat of a summer noon, another fateful encounter awaits where the greatest human barriers will be broken by cool water. Let warmth creep into your mind. Imagine we are leaving the cold stone walls of Jerusalem to come to the land of Samaria. It is noon. The sun is overhead. The harsh heat covers everything in a brilliant yellow. The air shimmers with heat. At an ancient well, Jacob's well, a woman is quietly approaching. Why does she go to draw water at this hour? This is the time when everyone rests to avoid the sun. People only draw water in the early morning or late afternoon for the cool air. She walks in the midday because she wants to flee. She flees the scrutinizing eyes, the whispers about her complicated past. She carries a heavy jar on her shoulder, but heavier than that jar is the burden of inferiority and loneliness. My dear friend, do you ever feel like this woman? Not in circumstance, but in the feeling of wanting to flee? There are times you feel you are not good enough, not worthy. You wear masks to hide wounds, failures, or broken relationships of the past. You fear that if someone looks through to your heart, they will judge you. You isolate yourself amidst the flow of life, like drawing water in the burning midday summer sun. Kahlil Gibran, who understood the pain of separation, wrote in The Prophet about loneliness and the longing to be understood. And ever has it been that love knows not its own depth until the hour of separation. That woman had lived in separation for too long. She longed for love, having passed through 5 husbands, and the current one was not her husband. She yearned to be filled. But the more she drank the water of worldly affection, the thirstier she became. And then she met him. Jesus was sitting there tired and thirsty. This is the greatest therapeutic moment. Connection. Jesus, a Jewish man who would never associate with Samaritans, took the initiative to speak. "Give me a drink." He broke every barrier, religious barriers, racial barriers, gender barriers, and most importantly, the barrier of prejudice. He did not look at her as a sinner. He looked at her as a human being capable of giving. He placed her in the position of someone who could help. When you feel useless, remember that the Creator is always asking something of you. He cherishes your presence. And then the story shifts to the core issue of sleep and peace, thirst. The Lord spoke to her and is also speaking to your yearning soul tonight. Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, But whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. Reflect on this. We drink the water of recognition. We thirst again. We drink the water of wealth. We thirst again. We scroll through social media to find joy, but when the screen turns off, emptiness rushes back. That is the law of the world. All external satisfaction is short-term, but tonight there is another stream flowing to your pillow, the living water. This stream does not come from the outside. It is welling up from within. Gibran once compared the inner treasure of man. Your daily life is your temple and your religion. Whenever you enter into it, take with you your all. The living water turns your soul into a cool temple. You no longer need to run anywhere to find peace. Peace is right within your chest, where the Lord's presence resides. Imagine that cool, pure water flowing from the top of your head, spreading down to your shoulders, down your back, soothing all the heat, all the restlessness of anxiety. It washes away the inferiority. The Lord spoke plainly of the woman's past, not to humiliate her, but to liberate her. He told me everything I ever did, she exclaimed. To be fully known and still accepted, that is the pinnacle of healing. You do not need to hide anything from this night. Pour out all secrets, all hidden pains into his hands. He knows it all, and he still loves you. He still grants you this cool water. Inhale. Feel the coolness of the living water. Exhale. Let go of the heavy water jar of the past. The Samaritan woman left her jar by the well and ran back to the city with a new joy. Tonight, you too, leave the burdens of today beside the bed. Do not carry them into sleep. You have been liberated. Gibran reminds us of the beauty of nakedness before the truth. Beauty is eternity gazing at itself in a mirror. But you are eternity, and you are the mirror. When you reflect yourself in the Lord's water, you do not see a failure. You see eternity. You see a beloved child. Your sleep tonight will be a sleep without dreams, without thirst, because your soul has drunk its fill. The night is deep. We have traveled a long journey from the creation of the world with the Word, tasted fine wine at Cana, were reborn with the night wind with Nicodemus, and are now quenched at the Samaritan well. All those stories, those pieces, converge on one thing. You are not alone. The light is with you. Joy is waiting for you. Rebirth is happening in every cell, and the water of peace is overflowing. Let these images blend together, drifting away, drifting away. Your body is now light. Your mind is now clear. Only the steady rhythm of breathing and absolute rest in the arms of the Good Shepherd remain. Sleep, O healed soul. Waking up tomorrow morning, you will find this world new, just as you have been renewed tonight. Good night. Relax your entire body, from the top of your head down to your heels. Imagine we are leaving the sunny and windy land of Samaria to return to Jerusalem. We are standing before a place called Bethesda, House of Mercy. The name sounds beautiful, but the scene inside is a picture of human suffering. Here, around the cold stone colonnades, countless sick, blind, and paralyzed people lie scattered. They are waiting. Waiting for what? Waiting for the stirring of the water. Legend has it that occasionally an angel would come down to stir the water, and whoever jumped in first would be healed. feel the tension in that air. Hundreds of people, eyes glued to the lifeless water, holding their breath, waiting for a fragile chance. Competition, despair, weariness. And in that crowd, there was a man who had lain there for 38 years. 38 years? Nearly half a lifetime with his back glued to a tattered mat. Dear friend, perhaps tonight you also feel like this man. Not physical paralysis, but paralysis of the soul. There are problems in your life that have existed for too long. An old sorrow, a bad habit that cannot be broken, or this persistent insomnia. You have tried every way, waited for every opportunity, waited for someone to save you, but the water remains still. You feel stuck. You gradually accept that. This is my fate. The waiting has turned to stone in your heart. Kahlil Gibran, in his insightful view of freedom and chains, wrote in the prophet, "You are the way and the wayfarers. And when one of you falls down, he falls for those behind him, a caution against the stumbling stone." Sometimes we stumble and lie there for so long that we forget how to stand up. We become victims of our own circumstances. But look, Jesus enters. He does not jostle to compete for a spot. He goes straight to that most desperate man. He does not wait for the water to stir. He asks a strange question, a question that seems superfluous to a man sick for 38 years. Do you want to get well? Why does he ask that? Because sometimes we have become accustomed to our pain. Pain becomes a comfort zone. We fear change, even if it is a change for the better. We have thousands of reasons to justify our helplessness. That man replied with a familiar complaint. "Sir, I have no one to help me into the pool." He looked at the lack having no one. He looked at the external circumstances, the pool, but Jesus wanted him to look at himself and the power of his word. Tonight, the Lord also asks you, do you want to sleep well? Do you want peace? Do not answer with reasons. Because of work pressure, because of the past, because of circumstances. Just answer, yes. And then the command rang out, tearing through the fog of 38 years of stagnation. Get up, pick up your mat, and walk. Get up. No need for stirring water. No need for angels. No need for someone to support. The power lies right in that spoken word. Immediately, the current of life ran through the withered legs. He stood up. He rolled up the mat, the thing that had been his bed, his prison for so many years, and walked. Imagine you are rolling up the anxieties, the negative thoughts that have bound you to your bed every night. Pick up your mat. Do not let the bed be a confinement of thoughts. Turn it into a launching pad for rest. You have the power to do that, for the Word of God is with you. But the story does not stop at joy. This is when the shadow of conflict begins to creep in. That day was the Sabbath, the holy day of rest, according to Jewish law. The religious leaders saw the man carrying his mat. They did not rejoice in his healing. They were furious. It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat. They cared more about rules than people. They wanted to kill Jesus because he dared to heal on the day of rest. This is a painful contradiction, but also the deepest comfort for you tonight. Why did the Lord choose the Sabbath to heal? Could he not have waited until the next morning? He did so to tell you that love is more important than all rules. Perhaps you are tormenting yourself because you're not good enough, not disciplined enough, have not completed the KPI of life, or feel you have made too many mistakes. You hear the judging voices in your head. like the Pharisees. You do not deserve to sleep well. You haven't finished your work yet. You're terrible. But Jesus was willing to break the law, willing to confront the whole world, willing to endure hatred just to bring peace to one person, you. He broke the rigidity of religion to touch the bleeding heart. He said, "My Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working." Even when you sleep, God is still working. He works to protect your breath. He fights against the forces of darkness so that you may rest. Gibran wrote a very beautiful sentence about justice and compassion. "Oftentimes have I heard you speak of one who commits a wrong as though he were not one of you, but a stranger to you and an intruder upon your world. But I say that even as the holy and the righteous cannot rise beyond the highest which is in each one of you, so the wicked and the weak cannot fall lower than the lowest which is in you also. We all have weak parts, but the Lord does not look at you through the lens of dry law. He looks at you with the eyes of the Redeemer. Let go of self-judgment tonight. If the Lord did not hesitate to break the Sabbath so that the paralyzed man could stand up, then he will not hesitate to remove every barrier in your mind so that you may find peace. Breathe deeply. Feel the liberation from the old mats. Feel the freedom from the judging voices. You are healed not because you follow every rule, but because you are loved by a love that transcends all rules. And as that man walked away, leaving behind the gloomy pool of Bethesda, he carried with him a new life. But our journey does not stop here. From the valley of sickness, Jesus will lead us up a high mountain where the grass is green and the wind blows strong. There a crowd of thousands is faint with hunger, and another great miracle is about to take place, but accompanied by a teaching so hard to hear that it causes many to turn away. Now, let your mind soar, leaving the cramped city to come to the mountain by the Sea of Galilee. The sea breeze blows strong, carrying the salty taste and a sense of liberation. Beneath your feet is a carpet of lush green grass, a soft bed that nature has prepared. There lies a sea of people, 5,000 men, not counting women and children, an ocean of faces, eyes and stomachs growling with hunger. Do you feel that hunger? It is not merely physical hunger. Tonight, lying in bed, you may be feeling a different hunger. The hunger for recognition, the hunger for love, the hunger for life's meaning. You have chased after work, fame, and social relationships all day long, but when night falls, you still feel empty inside. You still feel a lack. Kahlil Gibran, in his reflections on human desire, wrote, "Your soul is oftentimes a battlefield, upon which your reason and your judgment and your passion wage war against your appetite. Your soul is a battlefield, and the appetite always demands to be filled." Before that famished crowd, the disciples were anxious and bewildered. They looked at empty purses. They looked at the lack. But Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 small fish, the meager portion of a poor boy. He did not complain about the scarcity. He looked up to heaven and gave thanks. This is the secret of peace. Gratitude precedes the miracle. When you worry about what you do not yet have, try closing your eyes and giving thanks for what you do have, no matter how small. This breath, this heartbeat, this warm resting place. And then the bread multiplied. Thousands ate their fill. Abundance overflowed. 12 baskets of leftovers remained. The crowd cheered. They were ecstatic. They wanted to seize him and make him king. Why? Because they found a bread machine. They found someone who could solve their economic problems, the problem of their bellies. They wanted to possess him to serve their pragmatic needs. But Jesus withdrew. He retreated to the mountain alone. He did not come to be a political king or philanthropist distributing food. He came to offer something much more precious, but also much harder to receive. The next day at the synagogue in Capernaum, the atmosphere dampened. Joy vanished, giving way to tension. Jesus looked straight at those who sought him for bread and spoke earth-shattering words. I am the bread of life. Your ancestors ate manna in the wilderness, yet they died. But here is the bread that comes down from heaven, which anyone may eat and not die. And then came the declaration that challenged all limits of reason. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise them up at the last day. Eat my flesh and drink my blood. The crowd was stunned. They murmured. They were indignant. This is a hard teaching. Who can accept it? They were shocked because they understood it literally. But you, O seeker of deep silence, understand it in the language of love. Gibran once wrote in the chapter on giving, "It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. When you give of your possessions, you give but little. It is when you give of yourself that it is a complete giving." Jesus is saying that he does not want to give you mere gifts, bread, miracles, luck. He wants to give you himself. He wants to merge into you as food merges into the body, becoming flesh and blood, becoming life, becoming your breath. This is the deepest communion. But the world does not like such depth. The world prefers what is superficial, easy, and instant. And the most heartbreaking thing happened. The scripture records a sorrowful sentence. From this time, many of his disciples turned back and no longer followed him. They left. Thousands who cheered yesterday turned their backs today, simply because he invited them into a relationship so deep they dared not enter. Jesus stood there watching the stream of people leaving him, the loneliness of the Messiah. Perhaps tonight, you also feel that pain. The pain when you live true to your heart, yet others do not understand. The pain when those you thought were close leave when you no longer meet their expectations. Jesus turned to the 12 remaining disciples who stood huddled and afraid and asked a gentle but heart-rending question. You do not want to leave too, do you? That question echoes through thousands of years, reaching your bedside tonight. When life is hard, when prayers seem unanswered immediately, when you feel lonely, do you want to give up? Do you want to return to the old noisy clamor? And Peter, on behalf of all souls thirsting for truth, uttered the greatest anchoring words. Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. To whom shall we go? Out there is the storm. Out there is artificiality. Only in you are the words of eternal life. Tonight, let this sentence be the anchor for the boat of your soul. You do not need to go anywhere else. You do not need to seek any other remedy. You have come home. Even if the whole world leaves, there is one who remains, offering his own flesh and blood to nourish your peaceful sleep. Imagine you are receiving that bread of life. Let the presence of God fill the void in the stomach of your soul. The hunger has ceased. Contentment spreads. You are full. And when the crowd had all dispersed, only the small group of faithful disciples remained beside the Lord. They did not understand everything, but they chose to trust. From the nourishment within the soul, the Lord will now lead them on to open a new vision of the outside world. We will leave the lake region to return to Jerusalem, where a man sitting in eternal darkness is waiting for the first ray of light in his life. Now, close your eyes tightly. What do you see? A screen of darkness, correct? But for you, this darkness is only temporary. You know that by simply opening your eyes, the light will flood in. But imagine a man in Jerusalem. He was born blind. For him, light is an abstract concept, a legend told by others. His world is eternal darkness, sound, scent, and stumbling. He sits there by the roadside, begging for the pity of passers-by. He is used to being forgotten, or worse, treated as a moral lesson. When Jesus and his disciples passed by, the disciples asked a cruel question, a question that has haunted the human mind for ages. Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Who sinned? Dear friend, be honest with your heart tonight. In your sleepless nights, do you not often ask yourself that same question? Why am I suffering like this? What did I do wrong? Or is it due to my parents, circumstances, or fate? We tend to seek a reason, someone to blame for our pain. We torment ourselves over past mistakes, believing that current anxiety is a punishment. That mindset is like a rope tightening around your throat, suffocating you even in your sleep. But listen to the liberating answer of Jesus, an answer that shatters the chains of condemnation. Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. Neither. Let out a sigh of relief. Your pain, your difficulties, even your insomnia tonight are not a punishment. Do not blame yourself anymore. Do not dig up the past anymore. The Lord says, this circumstance exists so that the works of God might be displayed. Your darkness is the background for His light to shine brighter. Your weakness is the opportunity for His grace to be filled. Kahlil Gibran, when reflecting on pain and awareness, wrote in The Prophet, "Much of your pain is self-chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self." Sometimes, pain is the bitter potion to heal a deeper disease, spiritual blindness. Jesus does not just speak empty words. He acts, and His action is strange, full of earthliness. He spat on the ground, made mud, and anointed the blind man's eyes. Why mud? Mud is dust, and earth the essence of humanity. Spittle comes from His mouth, where the word of life issues forth. When the sacred touches the mundane, a miracle happens. The Lord is not afraid to dirty His hands to heal you. He touches your dirtiest, most wounded places, not with distant medical gloves, but with warm flesh and blood contact. Then He said, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam." The blind man went. He groped in the darkness, his face covered in mud. Perhaps people mocked him, but he kept going. That is faith. Faith is not seeing the destination, but keeping walking when you see nothing at all. And the moment the cool water of Siloam washed away the layer of mud, his eyes opened. For the first time, light, the blue of the sky, the brown of the earth, the faces of those around him. The world burst forth in color. Jesus declared, "While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world." Tonight, your bedroom may be dark, but your soul need not be. The one who is the light is here. He shines into the hidden corners of fear, dispelling the ghosts of anxiety. This light is not glaring to hurt the eyes. It is as gentle as the dawn, awakening hope within you. But the story has a very realistic detail. When the blind man received his sight, those around him and the Pharisees doubted and questioned. They used complex theological arguments to deny the miracle. That man, uneducated as he was, did not know how to argue. He simply said one simple sentence, yet it was the most eloquent truth. Whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know. I was blind, but now I see. One thing I do know. I was blind, but now I see. This is the affirmation for you. You do not need to understand all high theology. You do not need to explain to the world why you believe. You only need to experience your own peace. I know one thing. I was anxious, but now I am at peace. I know one thing. I was tired, but now I am at rest. Cling to that personal experience. That is your truth. Gibran once spoke of truth and simplicity in Sand and Foam. The reality of the other person is not in what he reveals to you, but in what he cannot reveal to you. Jesus understood that part which the blind man cannot reveal, the silent longing for light. And he understands you too. When the physical eyes of the blind man were opened, the spiritual eyes of the Pharisees, who thought themselves enlightened, were closed. Do not let the arrogance of reason prevent you from receiving sleep tonight. Be simple like that blind man. Believe and wash. Now imagine the water of Siloam flowing through your mind, washing away the guilt. Cleanse. Washing away the judgments of the world. Cleanse. Washing away the self-doubt. Cleanse. Only clear eyes remain, seeing the Lord as the light, and seeing yourself as a beloved masterpiece. When eyes are opened, one needs a guide to avoid getting lost in this colorful but trap-filled world. The newly healed blind man was expelled from the synagogue, alone amidst the flow of life. But he was not solitary. Just as he was rejected, the call of the Good Shepherd rang out, promising an absolute protection that no force can steal away. Exhale very gently. Imagine you are a little sheep after a long day wandering the meadows, sometimes lost, sometimes scratched by thorns. Night has fallen. The cold wind begins to blow. The howling of wolves, the anxieties, the lurking dangers begins to echo from afar. Where are you? Are you afraid? Do not fear. For tonight, you are not lying in the cold wilderness. You are within the sheepfold. In ancient nomadic culture, a sheepfold was sometimes just stone walls stacked upon one another, without a wooden door. The shepherd would lie right across the opening, using his own body as the door. Anyone who wanted to enter to harm the sheep had to step over the shepherd's body. Any sheep wanting to stray would touch the shepherd and be stopped. Jesus speaks to your soul, which is in need of shelter. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. You are safe. This safety does not come from the sturdy locks of a physical house, but from spiritual protection. He is the gate. All anxieties wanting to attack you tonight are blocked outside the door. All negative thoughts wanting to invade your dreams must face him first. But what makes the difference between the Lord and other sedative methods? It is the knowing. The world out there calls you by titles, by employee ID numbers, or by the mistakes you have made. But the shepherd calls you by name. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. He knows your name. He knows every breath, every most private feeling you dare not tell anyone. Kahlil Gibran, in The Prophet when writing about love, penned beautiful lines about the guidance of love, even though the path is sometimes rugged. When love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep, and when his wings enfold you, yield to him, though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you. And sometimes we are afraid to follow the call of divine love for fear of being hurt. But Gibran reminds us to yield to him within those wings. And Jesus affirms the absolute safety of those wings with a vow of blood. I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Lays down his life. Let this concept seep deep into your subconscious. How valuable are you? You are valuable to the point that the Creator is willing to die in your place. When you lie in bed and feel useless, inferior, or a failure, remember this image. Your value lies not in bank accounts or follower counts. Your value lies in the price paid for your life. You are loved with a sacrificial love. Jesus makes a heartbreaking but realistic comparison. The hired hand. The hired hand cares for the sheep for wages. When he sees the wolf coming, when hardship, sickness, or crisis strikes, he runs away. He cares nothing for the sheep. Your life has perhaps encountered many such hired hands. Fleeting joys, fair weather friends, temporary solutions. When the storms of life hit, they all vanish, leaving you alone with the wolves of anxiety. But Jesus doesn't run away. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. I am the Good Shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. I know my sheep. This understanding is the strongest sedative. You do not need to explain where you hurt. He knows. He knows what makes you weary. Visualize him lifting you up. You no longer have to walk on trembling legs. You are carried on the shepherd's shoulders. The warm fleece, the scent of peace, and his steady heartbeat are right by your ear. Gibran wrote in the Garden of the Prophet, "In your waking shall be your dreams, and in your sleep your wakefulnesses." In the shepherd's arms, the boundary between waking and sleeping is blurred. You sleep, but your soul remains awake in his protection. You do not lose consciousness into the void of darkness. You surrender your consciousness into the hands of the keeper. There is another verse in the Old Testament that surely King David, also a shepherd, wrote when thinking of this image, and it complements Jesus' words perfectly at this moment. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Tonight, whether you are walking through the valley of insomnia, the valley of debt, or the valley of brokenness, fear no evil, for he is with you. His rod and his staff, they comfort you. Let us practice the final relaxation exercise of this chapter. Inhale. Imagine you hear a gentle call. My child, I call you by name. Exhale. Respond. Here I am. I belong to you. Inhale. Imagine the door of the sheepfold closing, locking the storm outside. Exhale. Feel the warmth of the flock, the warmth of belonging. You're no longer an outcast like that blind man. You are family. You have a place to return to. And that place is the peaceful sleep in the Lord. We have traveled a long emotional journey, from the mat of 38 years at Bethesda being rolled up, to the satisfying meal with the bread of life on the grassy hill. From the blind eyes opened by the pool of Siloam, and now we lie, nestled in the arms of the Good Shepherd. The conflicts, the arguments, the rejections of the world have receded. Here in green pastures and beside quiet waters, only love remains. A love that does not calculate. A love that dares to die for its beloved. But the journey of the soul is not yet over. Out there, death and the pain of loss remain the greatest shadows threatening humanity. That shepherd not only protects the sheep from wolves, he also prepares to confront the greatest enemy, death. To prove that his light is stronger than the deepest darkness of the grave, we will need to go to a small village named Bethany. There is wailing lamentation, a tomb sealed for 4 days, and a miracle that will shake the heavens and earth, bringing our story to its most dramatic turning point. Sleep well in the shepherd's arms tonight to gather strength for the great journey tomorrow. Peace be with you. Let the space around you settle down. Imagine we are walking on the dusty road leading to the village of Bethany. The air here is thick with sadness. Wailing sounds echo from afar. Does this feel familiar? There are nights when your soul is just like the village of Bethany. A certain loss of a relationship, loss of an opportunity, or simply losing faith in oneself is casting a dark shadow over your sleep. You feel that everything has ended. It is too late. The story begins with a frightening delay. Martha and Mary sent a message to the Lord. Lord, the one you love is sick. They waited. You have waited too, haven't you? You pray for a problem to be solved, but God is silent. 1 day, 2 days, and Lazarus dies. Why did he arrive late? Why did he let the pain happen? That is the question that keeps many awake. But Kahlil Gibran, looking deep into the nature of pain, wrote a sentence in The Prophet that perhaps will comfort you at this moment. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Your pain is the breaking of the shell enclosing your understanding. If God came early to heal, it would be just an ordinary medical miracle. But he came late so that the shell of death might break completely, and from there, a new understanding of resurrection is formed. God's delay is not abandonment, but preparation for a greater glory. When the Lord arrived, Lazarus had been in the tomb for 4 days. Martha ran out to meet him with a reproach full of bitterness. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. If you had been here. How many times have you tossed and turned with the word, if? If I had decided differently, if I hadn't said that sentence, if I had tried harder. Those ifs are the chains binding you to the past. But Jesus did not come to fix the past in the way you think. He came to create a new future. He said, I am the resurrection and the life. And then he went to the tomb. This is the most emotional, most human moment in the entire Bible. Standing before the cold grave, seeing the tears of Mary and the Jews, Jesus did not maintain the cold face of a distant deity. The Bible records the shortest verse, but one containing an ocean of emotion. Jesus wept. God wept. Let this concept seep into your sobbing heart tonight. He knew he was about to call Lazarus back to life. He knew the ending would be happy. So why did he weep? He wept out of empathy. He wept because he felt the weight of death and the pain that sin causes humanity. My dear friend, if you are sad tonight, go ahead and cry. Tears are not a sign of weakness or lack of faith. Even God cried. So you have the right to be weak. Gibran once spoke of the connection between joy and sorrow. The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Sorrow is carving into your soul, deepening your compassion, so that tomorrow you may contain more joy. God is weeping with you in this bedroom. You do not cry alone. But Jesus did not stop at tears. He wiped his tears and acted. He commanded, "Take away the stone." Martha protested, "Lord, by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days." There are hidden corners in your soul that have begun to stink. Old sins, shameful memories you want to bury deep, covered by a large stone. You are afraid to open it. You are afraid to face your own decay. But to be healed, the stone must be rolled away. Light must shine into the darkest place. Do not be afraid. God does not pinch his nose and turn away. He stands there, ready to face your decay to grant you life. After the stone was rolled away, Jesus called out with an authority that shook the underworld, "Lazarus, come out. Lazarus, come out." Tonight, he is also calling your name. Hear your name come out. Step out of the tomb of anxiety. Step out of the shroud of depression. Step out of the darkness of despair. Life is calling you. Death has no right to hold you back when the word of life has spoken. And Lazarus came out. His hands and feet were still wrapped in grave clothes, his face covered with a cloth. This image is so vivid. We are often saved by God, have faith, yet we are still tightly wrapped by old habits, old fears, like grave clothes. We waddle, we stumble. The Lord commanded those around, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go. Let him go." This is the command of liberation for your sleep. Imagine the grave clothes being removed from you, layer by layer. The cloth of work pressure, remove. The cloth of jealousy, remove. The cloth of regret, remove. You are free. Your breathing is gentle. Your body is light. Life has conquered death. Lazarus lived again after 4 days. The impossible became possible. Nothing is too late for God. Your dreams, your hopes, even if they seem dead, can still rise to hear his call. Gibran reminds us in Sand and Foam, God made our hands round to hold things, but he also made them open to let go. Tonight, open your hands wide. Let go of the stones. Let go of the grave clothes. The village of Bethany has turned from a place of wailing into a place of feasting and astonished laughter. The light from Lazarus's empty tomb is so brilliant it is blinding. But alas, the brighter the light, the denser the darkness. This earth-shattering event not only brought joy to Lazarus's family, but it also triggered a seismic shift among the authorities. The news flew back to Jerusalem like a storm. The resurrection of a dead man became a death sentence for the giver of life. Dark schemes began to be drawn up in closed rooms, and the conflict was pushed to a point of no return. Let your mind depart from the sun-drenched village of Bethany to fly to the dark, majestic corridors of the Jerusalem temple. Here, the air is taut as a bowstring. The chief priests and Pharisees are holding an emergency meeting. The news of Lazarus's resurrection has terrified them. They say to one another, "If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. Pause for a moment. Do you find their fear familiar? It is the fear of losing control. They fear losing status, fear losing power, fear change. Are you also sleepless tonight because of this fear? Do you fear everything slipping out of your reach? Do you fear that tomorrow will bring events you cannot manage? That fear makes you tense up, calculate, and grip tightly to what you have. But Caiaphas, the high priest that year, unintentionally uttered a great prophecy. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish. He spoke with dark political intent, but in God's plan, that sentence bears a wonderful redemptive meaning. Jesus accepts death so that you may live. Breathe a sigh of relief. The price for your peace has been shouldered by another. You no longer need to strain yourself to save your little world. There is one who has taken that responsibility in your place. Now, let us shift the scene to a day of brilliant sunshine. Jesus enters Jerusalem. The crowd cheers loudly, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." They spread cloaks and cut palm branches to pave the way. The whole city shakes. But look closely. What animal is that king riding? Not a mighty war horse for conquest. He is riding on a young donkey. This image holds profound therapy for your ego. The donkey is a symbol of peace and humility. The Lord does not come to make war. He comes to grant peace. Amidst the shouts of "Long live," he remains calm, sorrowful, and deep. He knows this crowd cheering today will scream for crucifixion tomorrow, but he does not let his mind be swayed by the praise or criticism of the world. Kahlil Gibran in The Prophet wrote about the contrast between joy and sorrow. Your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. Jesus understood this better than anyone. In the laughter of the crowd, he heard the weeping of the future. He accepted both sides of life with absolute equanimity. Tonight, learn to ride on the donkey of humility. Do not let the praise and blame, success and failure of today disturb your mind. Just walk calmly into sleep, leaving behind the noise of glory and shame. And then when the cheering subsided, Jesus shared the greatest secret of life and rebirth. A secret that, if you understand, you will never fear loss again. He spoke of himself and of your entire life. Very truly, I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies. This is the law of nature and the law of the Spirit. You are holding your seed too tightly. You're holding on to worries, plans, and a proud ego. You fear letting go because you think letting go means losing everything. But the Lord says, no. Letting go, falling to the ground, and dying to the old self is the only way to bear fruit. Sleep tonight is an image of that gentle death. When you sleep, you must die to the conscious world. You must completely relinquish control. You must trust that the ground your bed will support you, and the darkness will incubate you. Do not fear falling. Let yourself fall into sleep. Let the worries of today die. Only when today dies completely can tomorrow sprout brilliantly. Gibran, a passionate lover of nature, wrote, "For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one." The river flowing into the sea is not death. but becoming a vaster ocean. The wheat dying is not the end, but becoming a field heavy with grain. Jesus continues with a confession full of humanity. Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it was for this very reason I came to this hour. Now my soul is troubled. He admits the confusion. He does not pretend to be strong. Dear friend, if your soul is troubled, admit it. Do not suppress it. But look at how the Lord handles the trouble. He does not ask to escape the difficulty, but he asks for the Father's will to be realized. Father, glorify your name. This is the pinnacle of surrender. Instead of praying, God, let everything be my way. Let me sleep immediately. Try praying, Lord, I entrust this moment to you. Whether awake or asleep, let my soul be at peace in you. When you stop fighting insomnia, sleep will come. When you stop fighting fate, peace will reign. A peal of thunder from the high heavens echoed in response to him. The crowd was bewildered, thinking it was thunder, but it was the confirmation of God, the confirmation that the path of sacrifice, the path of letting go, is the right path. Inhale. Imagine you are a tiny, round kernel of wheat. Exhale. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the warm Mother Earth. The hard shell of the grain is softening. Stressful thoughts are dissolving into the soil. You are dying gently to prepare for a new life tomorrow. Now, as the kernel of wheat lies still in the earth, as Jesus has accepted the bitter cup of destiny, he wants to spend the final moments with his loved ones. We will leave the noise of the temple, leave the curious crowd, to step up to a small upper room where there is only flickering candlelight and intimate words. There, a gesture of humility so stunning awaits to cleanse your soul completely. Let us continue the flow of the story. After the thunder from heaven rang out confirming Jesus' mission, the atmosphere in Jerusalem did not become lighter. On the contrary, it became heavy and deeply polarized. The sun is gradually setting behind the city walls. Darkness begins to creep into every corner. This is the twilight zone, the moment when the human mind is most easily swayed. Jesus looks at the bewildered crowd. He knows his time is short. He issues a warning, yet also an urgent invitation. The light is with you for a little longer. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. Walk while you have the light. This word is reserved for you tonight. Are you delaying your peace? You tell yourself, when I finish this project, I will rest. When I succeed, I will be happy. Tomorrow. But the Lord says, now is the time the light is with you. Do not wait until everything is perfect to allow yourself to sleep well. Do not wait until the darkness of exhaustion overtakes you. Seize peace right at this moment. However, the tragedy of chapter 3 lies in this. There were many who saw the miracle of Lazarus, heard the thunder, felt the truth, yet they were afraid. The Bible records a psychologically modern detail in John 12:42-43. Yet at the same time, many, even among the leaders, believed in him. But because of the Pharisees, they would not openly acknowledge their faith, for fear they would be put out of the synagogue. For they loved human glory more than the glory of God. They believed, but they dared not live truthfully. They feared being put out of the synagogue. They loved human glory more than true peace from God. Dear friend, place your hand on your chest and ask yourself, What is keeping you awake tonight? Is it the fear of judgment? Do you fear not being good enough in your boss's eyes? Do you fear not being successful enough compared to friends? Do you fear the whispers of the Pharisees in your life? This very fear is imprisoning your sleep. You live a double life like those officials. Inside, craving peace, but outside, still having to play the role of a successful person according to worldly standards. That inner conflict consumes a massive amount of your energy. Kahlil Gibran, in The Prophet when speaking of freedom, wrote a heart-piercing sentence. In truth, that which you call freedom is the strongest of these chains, though its links glitter in the sun and dazzle your eyes. What you call freedom, success, fame, are sometimes the very glittering golden chains that bind you. You think you are climbing to the peak, but in reality, you are enslaved to the gaze of others. Those officials had high status, but they were slaves to fear. How to escape these chains to enter sleep? Jesus offers a solution through his own action immediately after. When he had finished speaking, Jesus left and hid himself from them. Hid himself from them. Sometimes to find yourself again, you need to hide yourself, turn off the phone, disconnect from social media, withdraw from the eyes of the world. Your bedroom tonight is that sacred hideout. Here, there are no Pharisees judging you. No one is grading you. No one sees you. You are safe to be yourself. You're safe to take off the heavy mask. Imagine you are shedding the cloak of social expectation. It weighs heavily on your shoulders, doesn't it? Let it fall to the floor. You do not need to please anyone in your dreams. Gibran reminds us of the fortitude of the soul. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Do not try to live by the imposed truth of the crowd. Find your own truth of peace in communion with the Creator. Jesus hid himself not out of fear, but because he knew the value of silence before the great storm. He separated himself from the noise to recharge from the Father. Tonight, allow yourself to disappear from the world for a bit. The world will still turn while you sleep. Those who judge you will eventually have to sleep too. But the light of God never goes out. Inhale the freedom of being validation-free. Exhale the fear of opinion. As Jesus hid himself, darkness covered Jerusalem. But that was external darkness. Within his heart, the fire of the mission still burned brightly. And before completely withdrawing into the shadow of the Passion, he raised a final cry, a great manifesto of his purpose for coming into the world, to dispel all doubts and guilt in the human heart. Listen, the night wind in Jerusalem is blowing stronger. The crowd is gradually dispersing, everyone returning home, carrying their own schemes and fears. Jesus stands there, his shadow cast long upon the ground. He knows this is the last time he speaks to the world before stepping onto the cross. And the Bible records a very strong verb. Jesus cried out. It was not a whisper. It was not a gentle teaching. It was the heart-rending cry of a father seeing his child falling into an abyss. It was the cry of love wanting to overcome all barriers of spiritual deafness. What did he cry out? I have come into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. So that no one should stay in darkness. This is the final commitment for your sleep. You do not have to stay in the darkness of anxiety. You're not forced to endure this insomnia forever. His presence is to liberate you from that state. Sometimes we get used to the darkness to the point we think it is our home. We are addicted to sadness. We are addicted to worry. But the cry of the Lord tonight awakens you. No, your place is the light. Do not accept darkness as destiny. And then he speaks of the most core thing, the thing our self-tormenting minds need to hear most. If anyone hears my words but does not keep them, I do not judge that person, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. Take a deep breath and let this sentence seep into every tense nerve cell of yours. I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. Why do you lose sleep? Is it because you are playing the role of a judge trying yourself? Every night, when you lay your back on the bed, the internal trial begins. You drag out the day's mistakes to dissect. You convict yourself. I was lazy. I misspoke. I'm so incompetent. You sentence yourself with torment. Kahlil Gibran, in The Prophet, when speaking of crime and punishment, wrote a sentence full of compassion. You are good when you are one with yourself, yet when you are not one with yourself, you are not evil. Even when you are not yet perfect, even when you are conflicted, you are not evil. You're just a divided house. Jesus declares, He, the holiest one, did not come to judge you at this moment. So who are you to dare torture yourself? Dismiss the trial tonight. Acquit yourself. The Lord's goal is to save. He wants to save your sleep, save your energy, not punish you. But how to receive that salvation? Is it complying with thousands of rules? Jesus ends the sermon of his life with an absolute simplification. I know that his command leads to eternal life, so whatever I say is just what the Father has told me to say. What is the Father's command? It is eternal life. The Lord does not place the burden of religion on your shoulders. He places the seed of life in your heart. You do not need to do anything more tonight to deserve to sleep well. You only need to believe in that loving cry. Gibran wrote about the beauty of listening to the true voice. And there are those who have the truth within them, but they tell it not in words. In the bosom of such as these, the Spirit dwells in rhythmic silence. Jesus used words to call out one last time, but now he invites you to step into rhythmic silence. The declaration is done. The echo has faded. The sunlight has completely extinguished on the roofs of Jerusalem. Jesus turns his back to the crowd. He turns his back to the praise and even the opposition. The door of public ministry closes. Now only privacy remains. He walks in the night, leading the disciples toward the upper room. Let your mindset at this moment be the same. Close the door of work. Close the door of society. Follow him. Leave the noisy square of the mind to step into the upper room of the heart. There are no more loud cries, only the sound of trickling water, the gentle clinking of dishes, and the warmth of intimacy. The journey from public figure back to beloved child begins. Are you ready to take off your dusty shoes for him to stoop down and serve you? We have just passed the greatest turning point of the story, from the cold tomb of Lazarus to the fiery cry of salvation, from the fear of the authorities to the peace of the kernel of wheat accepting death. All those grand things are now packed away to make room for something smaller but greater. Love in service. Breathe gently. Feel the transition in space. The cold of the Jerusalem streets is left behind. Before you is warm candlelight. Jesus is waiting for you there, with a towel wrapped around his waist and a basin of water in hand. No longer the judge, nor the king on a donkey. Now, he is the servant, and he wants to wash away every trace of the turbulent chapter 3, so you may enter chapter 4 with a soul as pristine as a child's. Sleep peacefully in this gentle transition. Let the darkness gently embrace you. Imagine yourself ascending an old wooden staircase leading to a spacious upper room in Jerusalem. Outside, night has fallen, bringing with it the cold and dark conspiracies. But inside this room, warm candlelight is spreading. The aroma of baked bread, the heady scent of wine, and the silence of intimacy fill the air. You're sitting there with Jesus' 12 closest friends. The supper is taking place. But there is something unusual. In the culture of that time, the lowliest servant would be the one to wash the guests' feet upon entering the house. But tonight, there is no servant, and none of the disciples are willing to stand up and do it. Everyone thinks they are important. Everyone thinks the task is beneath them. Do you sometimes feel the same way? You strain yourself to maintain face, to maintain status. You fear that if you bow down, people will look down on you. Our ego is too big. It is rigid like a heavy suit of armor that prevents us from relaxing, even when we have climbed into bed. Then, a movement makes everyone hold their breath. Jesus, their teacher and Lord, quietly stands up. He says not a word. He lays aside his outer garments. The outer garment symbolizes fame, status, and authority. He casts it all aside. He allows himself to become bare and simple. He takes a towel and wraps it around his waist, the image of a slave. Then he pours water into a basin. The sound of trickling water echoes in the stunned silence of the room. Kahlil Gibran, when reflecting on service and love, wrote in The Prophet, "Work is love made visible. And if you cannot work with love, but only with distaste, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who work with joy." Jesus is working, and his work is love made visible. He does not do it with reluctance. He does it with utmost respect. He kneels before each person. The hands that created the stars are now cherishing the calloused, cracked, dust-covered feet of fishermen. He washes every crevice between the toes. The cool water soothes the ache of long miles. Tonight, let Jesus kneel beside your bed. Do not pull your feet back. Do not be shy. Your feet have walked through a long, dusty day. The dust of anxiety, the mud of stumbling, the scratches of hurtful words. You cannot bring those dirty feet into a peaceful sleep. You need to be cleansed. But listen to Peter's reaction. He represents our hidden pride. He pulls his leg back and exclaims, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet? You shall never wash my feet." He refuses. Why? Because he feels unworthy, or because he is not used to receiving. We are often taught to be strong, to be independent, to give. But we are very bad at receiving. We fear being indebted. We fear the weakness of letting others care for us. Jesus answers Peter with a sentence that touches the core of healing. "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." Unless I wash you, if you do not allow God, or life, or loved ones to care for you, you cannot connect with them. Healing only comes when you drop your defenses and accept help. Practice the exercise of receiving right now. Admit that you are tired. Admit that you need to be comforted. And whisper, "Lord, please cleanse my mind." When Peter understood, he exclaimed with fervor, "Then, Lord, not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus smiled. He explained that those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. The meaning is truly profound. In essence, you are saved. You are clean. You are His child. Daily anxieties and sins are just dust on the feet. It does not change your human value. You are not a failure. You are just a child with dusty feet. Just wash your feet, wash away the day's troubles, and you are pristine again. After washing their feet, including Judas, who was about to betray him, the Lord put on His clothes and returned to His place. He asked, "Do you understand what I have done for you?" And He taught the lesson of humble service. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. True peace does not come from being served by others, but from a mindset ready to bow down. Perhaps one of the reasons you lose sleep is that you are waiting for others to apologize to you, waiting for others to recognize you, waiting for others to do something for you. Let go of that waiting. Forgive. Wash the feet of the person who hurt you in your thoughts tonight. Let the water wash away the hatred. Gibran wrote about giving in the prophet. You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. When you forgive, wash feet, others in your mind, you are liberating yourself. The upper room now becomes strangely light. The tension of the ego has disappeared, along with the dirty water poured away. The disciples' souls are clean, soft, ready to receive the most important teachings. But outside, the darkness is thickening. Judas has left. Separation is approaching. Fear begins to kindle in the eyes of the remaining disciples. They know the teacher is about to go far away. They are utterly bewildered. What will become of us without the Master? Jesus sees through that anxiety, and He begins to raise the gentlest promises, like an eternal lullaby for sobbing hearts. Breathe deeply. Let the warm air of the upper room fill your chest. After Jesus finished washing feet, Judas quietly left into the night. The room now remains with only the most loyal friends. But the atmosphere is not light. An invisible anxiety is enveloping the space. The disciples feel the approaching separation. Their hearts beat fast. Their breathing is rapid. Questions like, why, how, when, are dancing in their heads. Do you find this familiar? That is exactly your state every night when you lay your head on the pillow. A troubled heart. That is when your mind is like a lake in a storm, turbulent, murky, unable to reflect the peaceful moonlight. You worry about the future, about health, about finances. And right when anxiety rises highest, Jesus speaks. His voice is deep and warm, steadfast, like an anchor dropped in the midst of the storm. Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God. Believe also in me. Do not let. Pay attention to this verb. The Lord gives you the power of control. Confusion will come, knocking at the door, but whether to let it enter the house or not is your right. Kahlil Gibran in The Prophet, when speaking of the house of the soul, wrote, "Your house is your larger body. It grows in the sun, and sleeps in the stillness of the night, and it is not dreamless. Your soul is a house. Do not turn that house into a noisy marketplace of worries. Tonight, close the door. You have the power of faith. Believe also in me to refuse to host the guest named anxiety. Next, Jesus uses a beautiful visualization therapy to soothe the fear of an indefinite future. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? Many rooms. Close your eyes and imagine my Father's house. It is not a cramped, stifling building. It is a vast, airy, and light-filled space. There is a room reserved just for you. Imagine you are entering that room. The walls are painted in the color of peace. The soft bed is spread with grace. The window looks out onto an eternal garden. Why do you worry about having no place to stay tomorrow? Why do you worry about being abandoned? The great architect of the universe has been going there to clean and arrange everything for you. Your future has been prepared. When you know that your destination is safe, the journey of sleep tonight will become relaxed. But human reason always questions. Thomas, representing the skepticism within us, asked, "Lord, we don't know where you are going, so how can we know the way?" We also often lose sleep because we do not know the way. How to solve this problem? How to get out of debt? How to heal a relationship? We draw up hundreds of scenarios in our heads. Jesus removes the burden of having to find the way with a shattering affirmation. I am the way and the truth and the life. He does not say, I will show the way. He says, I am the way. This means you do not need a detailed map of tomorrow. You just need to hold his hand. Where he goes, that is the way. Gibran wrote a profound philosophical sentence about movement and destination in Sand and Foam. We are all wanderers in search of the lonely path, which leads to no other place than to our own self. The path to finding the true self, finding life, is the path returning to the source. When you embrace God in your sleep, you are on the most correct way no matter what tomorrow brings. However, the Lord knows that when He leaves physically, we will feel lonely. The feeling of loneliness at night is the most frightening. Therefore, He promises to bestow a special gift, the Comforter. And I will ask the Father, and He will give you another advocate to help you and be with you forever, the Spirit of Truth. With you forever. You never sleep alone. Right now, in this quiet room, there is an invisible but powerful presence enveloping you. That is the Spirit of Truth. He does not come to judge. He comes to help and comfort. Imagine this presence as a warm, invisible blanket covering you. It soothes tense nerves, softening muscles that are cramped. And finally, the legacy that the Lord leaves behind before departing is not money, not a kingdom, but a state of soul. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Peace I leave with you. This is a blessing and also an empowerment. What is the peace of the world? It is when you have much money, when everything is favorable, when no one disturbs you. That kind of peace is very fragile, brittle as glass. Just one bad message, one small fluctuation, and it vanishes. But my peace is different. It is the peace of one who sleeps well, even when a storm is roaring over the boat. It is the peace of one facing death the cross, yet calmly washing the feet of others. It is the peace coming from within. from the unbreakable connection with the Father. Gibran, in his poem on peace, wrote, "You shall be free indeed when your days are not without a care, nor your nights without a want and a grief, but rather when these things girdle your life, and yet you rise above them, naked and unbound." The peace the Lord grants helps you rise above worries. It is not that you are without a care, but that those problems can no longer keep your soul bound. You are free. Tonight, reach out and accept this gift. It has been left for you. I receive His peace. I do not receive the anxiety of the world. Repeat this as a mantra for sleep. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Once again, he repeats, do not be afraid. The upper room is no longer a place of frightening separation, but a refueling station for the soul. You have a house to return to the future, a way to go the present, and the comforter to lean on the inner self. All voids have been filled. But how to maintain this peace when we step out of this room, facing the harsh reality of tomorrow? How not to wither amidst the flow of life? Jesus leads us to a final metaphorical image, an image of organic, living connection between the vine and the branches. Together, we will step out into the vineyard under the moonlight to discover the secret of this enduring vitality. Imagine you are breathing in the cool night air. The scent of earth and vegetation is creeping into your senses. Jesus and the disciples are perhaps passing by vineyards heavy with fruit, or he is looking up at the intricate vine carvings on the temple gates. He stops, points to the branches intertwining around the trunk, and says, I am the true vine, and my Father's the gardener. I am the true vine. This image holds immense liberation for those exhausted from striving. Dear friend, are you sleepless because you always feel you must do it yourself? You strain to earn money, to maintain relationships, to build a self-image. You think the source of life comes from your own effort. And when you stop, when you sleep, you fear everything will collapse. But the Lord says, no, you're not the vine. You are only the branch. The vine is what draws water and nutrients from the soil. The vine is responsible for pumping life sap everywhere. The branch does not need to strain to draw water. The branch only needs to do one single thing: cling tightly to the vine. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. Remain in me. This is the golden keywords for sleep therapy. Remain. In Greek, this word is meno, meaning to dwell, to stay put, not to leave. Your sleep tonight is not irresponsible resignation. It is the act of remaining in God's energy. When you lie down, visualize yourself as a small, tender branch. You're being connected seamlessly to the great vine. You do not need to worry about where to get the strength to live tomorrow. The sap is automatically flowing from the vine to you, even while you sleep. Kahlil Gibran, who always saw the soul in nature, wrote a beautiful sentence about life and love, the sap of the universe, in the prophet. Life without love is like a tree without blossoms or fruit. If there is no sap of love flowing from the vine, we will wither. Your anxiety and barrenness are signs that you are trying to live by your own strength. You have separated yourself from the flow. Tonight, reestablish that connection. Let God's love flow into the driest regions of your soul. Feel the tingling of life recovering in every cell. But in the vineyard, it is not always just serenity. There is the clicking sound of the gardener's shears. Jesus says a sentence that sounds painful, but bears deep healing meaning. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. He prunes. Perhaps this is the reason for your pain these past days. Failures, losses, things not going as planned. Do you think it is punishment? No, it is the pruning of the loving gardener. For the branch to bear much sweet fruit, the gardener must cut away excessive foliage, diseased parts, things that drain life sap uselessly. Tonight, look at your troubles through this lens. God is helping you cut away the superfluous. He cuts away arrogance. He cuts away toxic relationships. He cuts away bad habits. This process may be painful, but its purpose is for you to be lighter and more fruitful tomorrow. Gibran once wrote about pain as a sculptor of the soul. The stone which the builder rejected became the foundation of the new altar. Or in the saying about the seed, except a grain of wheat fall into the earth and die, it abideth by itself alone. Pruning hurts you tonight, but it is clearing the way for a better version of yourself. Do not resist the gardener's shears. Trust in the Father's skill. He knows exactly what to keep and what to discard for you to be happy. And what is the result of remaining and accepting pruning? Not weariness, but complete joy. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My joy may be in you. The Lord's joy is not external clamor. It is a silent but intense flow of life sap. As you sink into sleep tonight, imagine that sap is joy. It is flowing through your shoulders, down your back, to your feet. It pushes back the toxins of stress. You do not need to look for joy far away. You just need to cling tightly to the vine, and joy will find you. Finally, Jesus expands the image of the vine into a network of love. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. We are branches on the same vine. Sometimes you lose sleep because of anger, because of jealousy toward other branches. Why are they greener than me? Why do they have more fruit than me? Comparison kills sleep, but when you realize we all drink from the same sap, are all cared for by the same gardener, jealousy will vanish. You have your place on the trunk. They have their place. Bless the other branches. When you bless others, the sap flowing within you becomes even stronger. Gibran wrote about giving and love in The Prophet. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. Whether parents, children, or friends, we are all connected in a mission of life. Tonight, forgive the branches that have brushed against you when the wind blew. Let go of animosity. Only pure connection remains. You, a tiny branch, are being held by the great vine in the peaceful garden of the Father. Inhale. Draw in fresh life sap. Exhale. Let go of the withered leaves of yesterday. You are being nourished right in this sleep. When the connection between teacher and student, between vine and branch has been established, Jesus looks up to heaven. Now it is no longer teaching. Now is the dialogue between spirit and spirit. He begins the longest, greatest prayer, spanning space and time, to protect your soul for all eternity. let the space become absolutely silent. The night wind in the vineyard seems to cease blowing. After teaching, comforting, and washing feet, Jesus does one last thing before entering the life and death battle. The Bible records a simple yet majestic gesture. After Jesus said this, he looked toward heaven and prayed. He raised his eyes to heaven. Tonight, you do not need to look up at the ceiling in despair. Close your eyes and see Jesus looking up on your behalf. When you have no strength left to pray, when sadness is too great and chokes your words, remember, he is praying for you. This is not a common prayer asking for grace. This is a prayer of transfer and protection. He begins by reporting the completion of the mission. I have brought you glory on earth by finishing the work you gave me to do. Completion, a sense of wholeness. Let that feeling of completion spread in your mind. Your day, no matter how unfinished in God's eyes, has been filled with grace. Lay down the burden of unfinished business. And then he prays for the safety of those remaining, that is you. Holy Father, protect them by the power of your name, the name you gave me, so that they may be one as we are one. Protect them. Visualize this prayer as a circle of light surrounding your bed. The world out there is full of dangers, temptations, pressures, attacks of anxiety. Do you feel small and vulnerable? Do not fear. You are being protected by the name. No force of darkness can pierce this shield. Kahlil Gibran, in The Prophet, when writing about prayer, said, "You pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joy and in your days of abundance." Jesus is praying for you even when you do not know what you need. He prays not only for you to escape suffering, but for you to be kept. Being kept means being enveloped, sealed, and absolutely safe in the Father's palm. But the most miraculous thing lies in the middle section of the prayer. This is the detail that will make your lonely heart burst with happiness. Jesus did not just pray for the 11 disciples standing there. He looked through time, through 2,000 years of history, saw you, the one lying there listening to this meditation, and said, "My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message. I pray also for those..." Do you hear it? He mentions you. Before you were born, before you knew what anxiety was, Jesus had already prayed for your sleep tonight. You are not a nameless speck of dust forgotten in the universe. You have been remembered in the most important hour of history. The feeling of abandonment, the deep cause of many insomnias, is now dispelled. Your name is carved in the heart of the Savior. And what is the ultimate purpose of this prayer? That all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me, and I am in you. It need that all of them may be one. Oneness. The greatest human suffering is separation. We feel separated from others, separated from God, and even conflicted with ourselves. This fragmentation shatters our minds, causing ceaseless noise in our heads. But the Lord's Prayer is to heal it all, for you to blend into the great loving flow of the universe, for you to no longer be a lonely island. Gibran wrote a beautiful philosophical sentence about this blending in The Prophet. "For what is it to die, but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? Deep sleep is like such a gentle melting. You let go of the rigid shell of the ego to merge into God's ocean of peace. You become one with holy silence. No more boundaries, no more fighting, only serene existence remains." Finally, Jesus reveals his most burning desire. not to order you to work, but wanting to be with you. Father, I want those you have given me to be with me where I am and to see my glory. I want those to be with me. You are wanted. You are desired. Let this thought lull you to sleep. The one who created the stars wants to be beside you. He enjoys your presence. You're not his burden. You are his joy. When the prayer ended, a sacred silence covered both space and time. Those words flew straight to the throne of God and were sealed with approval. Protection has been activated. Unity has been established. Your soul now has a safe home of refuge, built by the prayers of the Son of God himself. Jesus lowered his hands. He looked at the disciples one last time in the flickering candlelight of the garden. He knew the hour had come. He said, "Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." Instead of fleeing, he actively stepped forward. Why? To face the darkness on your behalf, so that tonight, when darkness surrounds, you can lie still and sleep, knowing that the Lord stands right at the gateway of fear. He walks into the storm, so you may stay in the peaceful eye of the storm. We will leave this warm garden of prayer to enter chapter 5, the final chapter, full of tragedy, but also glory. Where darkness tries to swallow the light, but unintentionally causes the light to flare up more brilliantly than ever, with the voice saying, "It is finished." Keep the warmth of this prayer in your heart as we change scenes. Night has deepened. Cold winds from the Kidron Valley gust into the ancient olive groves of Gethsemane. The silence of the prayer garden is shattered by flickering torches, thumping footsteps, and the clanging of swords and spears. The troops have arrived to arrest him. Leading them is Judas, the one who sat at the same table and dipped in the same bowl with him. Dear friend, perhaps one of the reasons you toss and turn every night is the pain of betrayal. Maybe someone you trusted has turned their back on you. Maybe you feel the world is unsafe because human hearts are so fickle. That pain is like a sharp thorn, piercing the heart, preventing peaceful sleep. But look at Jesus. He does not flee. He does not panic. He does not scream curses at the traitor. When the troops ask whom they seek, he steps forward and says clearly, "I am he." That statement is so authoritative that the soldiers draw back and fall to the ground. This is the first therapeutic lesson. Active calmness. Amidst the chaos of life, when everything seems to collapse, learn to stand firm in your identity. Do not let the terrible actions of others define your emotions. Jesus knows who he is, so Judas's betrayal does not diminish his value. It only exposes the nature of darkness. Tell yourself tonight, no matter how others treat me, I am still me, whole and at peace. The troops march him to the high priest's courtyard. The night thickens, and there, by a charcoal fire in the courtyard, another tragedy of the human soul unfolds. Peter, who just swore to die with his master, is now trembling, not from cold, but from fear. A servant girl asks, "You aren't one of this man's disciples too, are you?" And Peter denies, "I am not." The first time, the second time, then the third time. The rooster crows tearing through the night. Let us pause here for a moment. Do you torment yourself every night about your own failures? Do you regret not being braver? Do you regret not speaking words of love or accidentally speaking hurtful words? The feeling of, "I am terrible," self-condemnation, is the greatest enemy of sleep. it turns a soft pillow into a bed of nails. You see yourself in Peter, weak, cowardly, and full of contradictions. Kahlil Gibran, with his deep empathetic insight into human duality, wrote in The Prophet, "You are good when you are one with yourself, yet when you are not one with yourself, you are not evil. You are a divided house that is not a den of thieves. It is only a divided house. Tonight, forgive the Peter within you. You're not evil. You're just a divided house. One part of you wants to be strong, but the other part is afraid." Jesus knows that. He foretold it to Peter, not to condemn, but for Peter to understand that. He accepted his weakness even before it happened. Jesus' silence when looking at Peter as the rooster crowed was not a look of contempt, but a look of poignant understanding. Let that look soothe your self-blame. Sleep knowing that your mistake today is not the end. Dawn begins to break. Jesus is led to the palace of Governor Pilate. From a religious space, the story shifts to a political and philosophical space. Pilate, representing Roman power, worldly reason, is confused. He finds no fault in this prisoner, yet he is under pressure from the crowd. The dialogue between Pilate and Jesus is one of the greatest in human history. It is a confrontation between noisy power and silent truth. Pilate asks about kingship. Jesus answers, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place. My kingdom is not of this world." This sentence is the key to liberating you from the pressure of reality. If you keep measuring your success and happiness by the standards of this world, money, status, recognition, you will be forever anxious, because this world is always fluctuating. But the Lord invites you to step into another kingdom, the kingdom of the inner self, of eternal peace. There, no one can harm you. When you close your eyes to sleep, imagine you are leaving this world temporarily to return to that kingdom where your soul truly belongs. And then Jesus declares the purpose of his life. "The reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." Pilate, with the skepticism of one too weary of struggles, drops a hanging question. A question perhaps you are also agonizing over. What is truth? He does not wait for an answer, but turns his back and walks away. What is truth? We live in an era of information overload. Every day you receive thousands of news items. Fake news, real news, conflicting advice, different life philosophies. Your head spins. You do not know whom to trust. This chaos exhausts your mind. You crave a truth, a solid fulcrum to cling to. Kahlil Gibran wrote about truth in The Prophet like this: "Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of the soul. Say rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths." Truth is not a dry formula for you to analyze. Truth is a person. When Pilate asked, "What is truth?" the truth was standing right in front of him. Truth does not need to argue. Truth simply exists. Jesus is the silent answer to all of Pilate's noise. Tonight, you do not need to seek answers to all life's problems. You do not need to decode the future. Look at Jesus, the silent peace standing before you. That is the truth. The truth is, you are loved. The truth is, you are forgiven. The truth is, you are safe in God's hands. Let these simple truths defeat the complex noises in your head. Pilate, though knowing Jesus was innocent, finally washed his hands and handed him over to the crowd to be crucified. He chose political safety over truth. But Jesus did not complain. He accepted the sentence. He knew that the path to glory must pass through the cross. He was not dragged away helplessly. He actively stepped forward. Now, imagine the noise of the trial fading away. Pilate has returned to his magnificent but empty palace. Peter is weeping in some dark corner, waiting for restoration. And Jesus, he begins to shoulder the heavy wooden beam. That weight is not just wood and stone. It is the weight of all anxieties, sleepless nights, and fears of humanity and of yourself being placed upon his shoulders. Do you feel lighter? Because your burden has been transferred. The journey up Golgotha begins. It is a painful journey, but it is the only path leading to complete liberation. And on that hilltop, a sentence deciding the fate of the universe is about to be uttered. Let the space around you sink into absolute silence. We are standing on Golgotha. The air is thick and stifling. The sky turns pitch black even though it is noon. Look up at the cross. It is not just a symbol of pain. It is the convergence of love and sacrifice. Jesus is there. His body is broken, but his spirit remains clear and in control until the very last moment. In the Gospel of John, Jesus does not die as a defeated victim. He dies as a king completing his great mission. He is not robbed of life. He actively gives it away. Before reaching the final moment, he looks down and sees his mother and the beloved disciples standing there. Amidst the flesh-tearing pain, he still cares for those remaining. He establishes a new family. Woman, here is your son, and here is your mother. Dear friend, even in the most suffering moments, love always seeks to connect. If you feel lonely tonight, remember that at the foot of the cross, a sacred family was born, and you are a part of it. Then he says, I am thirsty. This is not merely physical thirst. This is his drinking the bitter cup of humanity to the dregs. He thirsts so that you may never thirst again. He tastes the dryness of the soul so that the stream of peace may overflow into your sleep tonight. And then, the most important moment has arrived. After tasting a little sour vinegar, Jesus gathers his remaining strength, not to wail, but to declare a great victory. A voice rings out, tearing through the night, echoing through thousands of centuries to reach your bedside right now. It is finished. In Greek, this word is tetelestai. It is a commercial term meaning paid in full. When a debt has been fully settled, they write on the bill, tetelestai. When an artist completes their most passionate painting, tetelestai. When a soldier completes a vital mission, tetelestai. Let this phrase, "it is finished," seep deep into every corner of your mind. Why do you lose sleep? Is it because you feel you have not done enough? Is it because you feel you still owe life, owe people, owe yourself promises? You lie down, but your mind is still racing with unfinished to-do lists. You feel the burden of responsibility weighing heavily on your chest. But Jesus says, it is done. The price for your peace? Paid in full. The price for your past mistakes? Paid in full. The salvation of your soul? Completed. You do not need to add anything to this great work. You do not need to try to fix yourself to deserve to be loved. You only need to receive it. Kahlil Gibran, in The Prophet, when writing about work and completion, penned beautiful philosophical lines. And when you work with love, you bind yourself and to one another and to God. Work is love made visible. On the cross, Jesus performed the hardest work, making love a reality. And now, that work is finished. Love has been fully proven. Your sleep tonight is the time for you to stop all your own work, to rest in His finished work. Imagine you are holding the debt bill of your life, emotional debts, financial debts, debts of gratitude, and Jesus stamps it in red, paid in full. You are free. You owe darkness nothing anymore. After that declaration, the Bible records an astonishingly gentle action. With that, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. He bowed his head, a gesture of rest, like a weary laborer after a long day of work, now leaning his head on a soft pillow, gave up his spirit. He did not wait for death to come and steal it. He actively surrendered his spirit into the Father's hands. This is the pinnacle of trust. Kahlil Gibran, in his poem on death, wrote words as if describing this very moment. For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance. Death on the cross is not a tragic end, but a melting into the sun, a return to the source of light. Jesus has gone before us in this journey of letting go. Every night we go to sleep is actually a practice of that mini death. We let go of consciousness, let go of control, let go of the material world. Many fear sleep because they fear losing control. But look at Jesus. He let go in absolute peace because he knew the Father's hands were receiving him. Tonight, do you dare to imitate him? Try bowing your head gently onto the pillow. He bowed his head. Exhale a long breath, releasing all troubles. Gave up his spirit. Whisper a prayer. Father, I entrust my mind into your hands. Everything today is done. It is finished. When the Lord breathed his last, the earth shook. The curtain in the temple was torn in two. But after that seismic event came a vast silence. The Roman soldiers were terrified. The crowd returned home silently, beating their breasts in repentance. His body was taken down gently, respectfully. No more pain, no more scourging, no more mocking voices. Only eternal peace remains. Nicodemus, the man we met late at night in chapter 1, has returned. This time he does not come secretly. He brings 100 pounds of myrrh and aloes, the scent of kings, to embalm him. They laid him in a new tomb in the garden. A large stone was rolled to cover the entrance. Darkness covered all. The silence of the Sabbath began. For many, the grave is the end. It is despair. But for us, those seeking therapy for the soul, the grave is a cocoon. Gibran said, "Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. The kernel of wheat has died. The shell has broken. Now, in the thick darkness of the earth, a silent but intense transformation is taking place. Sleep now. Let yourself lie still in the cocoon of sleep, just as the Lord lay in the tomb. Do not fear the darkness, for in this very darkness, resurrection is being woven. Believe that when you open your eyes tomorrow morning, the stone will be rolled away. But before reaching that brilliant dawn, we need to pass through waiting. And the first person to witness history's greatest miracle was not the strong man, but a woman with a sensitive heart and steadfast loyalty. we will join Mary Magdalene going to the tomb while it is still dark. She imagined the atmosphere of the early morning on the first day of the week. It is still dark. Night dew still lingers on the blades of grass in the Holy Garden tomb. The air is chilly and quiet. There is a woman walking alone in that darkness, Mary Magdalene. She visits the tomb with a broken heart. The teacher, the healer, the only hope of her life is dead. Dear friend, are you also walking in the darkness of disappointment? Do you feel your hopes have been buried in the grave of harsh reality? Do you wake up or lie awake with a feeling of emptiness and uncertainty? But when Mary arrived, something amazing happened. The stone had been rolled away. Visualize the heavy stone, the thing you thought immovable. The thing separating you from life has been moved gently. The angel asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" And right after, Jesus appeared, but Mary did not recognize him. She thought he was the gardener. How beautiful this detail is. Jesus is the great gardener. He is in the garden of death to sow new life. The Lord repeats the question, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?" He knew she was crying, yet he asked. He wanted her to name her pain. Tonight, the Lord also asks you, what are you crying for? What are you looking for in this sleep? Mary answered in despair. And then Jesus said only one word, a word that broke all barriers of death and misunderstanding. Mary. He called her name, not by a strange title, but by the most familiar name. In an instant, Mary recognized him. Rabboni. Kahlil Gibran, when writing about the understanding between souls, said in the prophet, "And think not you can direct the course of love for love. If it finds you worthy, directs your course." Love found Mary in that misty morning and redirected her life. Tonight, listen deep within. God is calling your name. When He calls your name, it means He is present. You are not talking to an invisible void. You are being heard by the living one. Resurrection begins not with thunder, but with the gentle calling of a name. Let that call comfort the crying child inside you. But the healing story does not stop at emotions. It needs to resolve both reason and doubt. On that afternoon, the disciples were gathering in a closed room, with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders. Doors locked tight out of fear. Is your mind tonight like that room? Do you close your heart tight for fear of hurt, fear of failure, fear of the future? But Jesus came and stood among them. Locked doors could not stop Him. Your fear cannot stop Him. He said, "Peace be with you." And He showed them His hands and sighed. Why? Why does a glorious resurrected body keep the scars? This is a powerful therapeutic message. Scars are the proof that love has conquered pain. God does not erase the painful past. He turns it into glory. Your heart wounds, your failures, God will not wipe them out as if they never existed, but He will heal them so they no longer hurt you, but become marks of maturity. However, there was one person absent, Thomas. When hearing friends recount it, Thomas, the practical man, the man of logic, shook his head. "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe. Unless I see, I will not believe." Do you blame Thomas? No. We are Thomas. We live in a world that needs evidence. We doubt everything good. How can there be such easy peace? How can there be a loving God when my life is so miserable? Doubt is the poison that kills sleep. It forces the brain to analyze continuously. A week later, Jesus returned, this time specifically for Thomas. He did not scold. Why are you so hard-hearted? He gently invited, put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe. Put your finger here. The Lord invited Thomas to touch his wounds. Gibran once wrote a very good sentence about pain and understanding. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Thomas needed to touch the pain to break the shell of his understanding. When Thomas's trembling finger touched where the nails were, he did not just touch flesh, he touched love. He touched the truth that God died for him and rose for him. All arguments, all logic collapsed. Only absolute worship remained. My Lord and my God. And Jesus bestowed a final blessing, a blessing reserved for you, the one lying listening to this video and not seeing him with physical eyes. Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. This is the lullaby for your faith tonight. You do not need to see a miracle right before your eyes to be at peace. You do not need to see a full bank account to dare to sleep well. Happiness belongs to you, right when you choose to trust in the darkness. Faith is the sixth sense, helping you feel His presence when the other five senses have rested. Imagine you are gently touching His nail-scarred hand. Feel the warmth, feel the sacrifice. All doubts vanish like morning mist meeting the sun. You do not need to understand everything to be at peace. Thomas stopped analyzing, and he found rest. You be like that too. And now, when faith has been restored, when life has conquered death, our story needs a truly gentle ending, not in a majestic temple, not on a brilliant throne, but in the most ordinary, most romantic place, by the shore of the Sea of Galilee in the early morning. There is the sound of rippling waves, the smell of grilled fish, and a final healing dialogue to wipe away all past guilt for Peter and for yourself. We will step out to the lake to end this journey. Let your mind drift northward to the familiar Sea of Galilee. Imagine you are sitting on the cool sand. It is early morning. Mist lingers over the calm lake surface. Only the murmuring sound of waves, murmuring like the breathing of heaven and earth. Peter and his friends have returned to their old trade, fishing. Perhaps they are confused about the future. Perhaps they want to find a sense of safety in familiar work. But throughout the entire night, they caught nothing. The emptiness of the net mirrors the emptiness in their hearts. Dear friend, do you also feel exhausted after a day of fishing in the stream of life without catching anything? You strive, you cast your net, but the result is only weariness. Do not worry. Jesus is standing on the shore in the early mist. He is there, observing and waiting. He calls out, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" Then he tells them to cast the net on the right side of the boat. The net is full of fish. 153 large fish. God's provision always comes when we are most helpless. When human strength is exhausted, that is when the miracle begins. Loosen your hands that are gripping the edge of the boat. Believe that tomorrow your net will be full. But for now, your task is to come to shore. When they stepped ashore, a heartwarming scene appeared. No throne, no blinding halo. Only a fire of burning coals there with fish on it, and some bread. A charcoal fire, grilled fish, fragrant bread. Can you smell the scent of that peace? The smell of wood smoke, the smell of hot food amidst the chill of the early morning. Jesus says, "Come and have breakfast." This is the most gracious invitation for your sleep. The Lord does not ask, "Have you repented yet? Have you learned your lesson?" He cares about the empty stomach, the weariness, and the cold first. Tonight, let the Lord prepare breakfast for your soul. Warm yourself by His charcoal fire. Partake of the fullness of love. But this charcoal fire evokes a painful memory. Do you remember? In the high priest's courtyard, beside another charcoal fire, Peter denied the Lord 3 times. That memory is like a thorn. Peter sits there, warmed by the fire, yet stung in his heart. He dares not look straight into the Master's eyes. Guilt is gnawing at him. Are you also carrying some guilt into your sleep? A broken promise? An irreparable mistake? Jesus knows that. He does not avoid it. He confronts it to heal it. After the meal, as the waves gently lap against the rocky shore, the Lord turns to Peter and asks, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Do you love me?" He does not ask, "Oh, why did you deny me?" He does not ask, "Do you regret it?" He only asks about love. Kahlil Gibran, in his masterpiece, The Prophet, wrote about the healing nature of love. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself, to wake at dawn with a winged heart, and give thanks for another day of loving. Love needs no reason, no reproach. It only needs to be fulfilled. Peter answers, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." The Lord says, "Feed my lambs." A second time, he asks. A third time, he asks. Why 3 times? To wipe away the 3 previous denials. Every question, "Do you love me?" is like an antidote, neutralizing each past rejection. Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the 3rd time, but that sadness was the sign of breaking through. The shell of self-defense has broken. He exclaims from the bottom of his heart, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. You know all things." This is the pinnacle of rest. You do not need to hide. You do not need to explain. You do not need to justify. The Lord knows everything. He knows your weakness, knows your fear, and most importantly, He knows your frail but sincere love for Him, and He accepts it all. He restores Peter's value. From a failure, Peter becomes a leader, a shepherd. Tonight, let this seaside dialogue take place in your heart. Hear the Lord ask, "Do you love me?" And answer silently, "Lord, you know I love you, even though I have many shortcomings." That is enough. All complexes are washed away by the sea waves. Finally, Jesus concludes with a simple invitation, the invitation that started it all and also ends it all. Follow me. No need to know what the future holds. No need to know when you will die, as the Lord also foretold Peter's death. Just follow me. Follow me into peace. Follow me into sleep. Follow me into eternity. Now, the Sea of Galilee is calm. The sun has risen high, warming all creation. Our journey from darkness to light, from anxiety to peace, from death to resurrection is complete. Kahlil Gibran once wrote in The Garden of the Prophet, "In your waking shall be your dreams, and in your sleep, your wakefulness." Now, as you sink into sleep, it is not an end, but an awakening in the loving arms of the Lord. Let the image of the warm charcoal fire warm your heart. Let the murmuring waves lull you into slumber. You are forgiven. You are restored. You are unconditionally loved. It is finished. Peace be with you. Good night.